Sometimes you think you know how a show is going to go. A Concacaf win and a league win. Then you're feeling good sitting at home on a Sunday night enjoying a nice glass of red wine, and then boom, a new right back falls out of Florida and smacks you on all your news feeds. Chris Albright strikes again when you least expect it. Not only that, we had more Open Cup drama this week with two of our very own getting all fired up at each other about it. I even saw Dienenstad put out a statement tonight, and then you have a bunch of USL fans pretending they are boycotting MLS when they weren't going to watch it anyway. So I give the Pro-Rel squad a whole bunch of Twitter talking points, that is for sure. But tonight I'll try to play a fair judge in case any surprises pop up. I think it will be a lively episode, to say the least, with everything going on. But here, let's introduce them tonight. Tonight's Super Squad. Let's bring in the awesome team. First up, back all the way from the Windy City, Mr. Jeremy Lance.
Boys, how we doing?
Pretty good.
Coming off a dub.
Two dubs.
It feels good to actually see us score a goal. That's nice. I did appreciate not showing up and sitting there for 90 minutes and getting nothing.
Yeah. The home opener was a little lackluster, if you could say so. A little stale, a little rushed.
Just slightly.
And some of that was being shaken off throughout this week. Maybe beating up on a Jamaican team helped shake the rust off. I mean, at some point, I don't want to steal any of our talking points, but at some point you felt bad. You felt a little bad, I think, unless you were just ready for it. All right. But hey, how was Chicago? Seriously, though.
Chicago was great. It was windy, literally. And it was a good time. It was a good time. Soldier Field, not the worst venue ever to put a MLS match. As the guy behind me told me, it was the most people he had seen at a March match. And I was like, well, it is like 53 degrees out. So, I mean, I guess that's pretty good for March. So people would actually show up to it. But yeah, decent situation there at Soldier Field. I don't know really what the future holds for that stadium and that team. The Bears are looking to leave and go to the suburbs. The Fire just left the suburbs and went to Soldier Field. So I don't know what's going to become of any of that. It's a little too big to just be their own. So I don't know.
I do want to talk to you about it later because you never see that many people at Chicago Fire games. So you kind of caught like one of those weird moments in history.
Salt blood moon there.
Yeah. So we're going to go back to that for sure. All right. Next up, the defender of hundreds of years of history, Mr. Justin Blair.
Yeah, thank you for having me on tonight. I want to maybe knock Bryan down a peg or two tonight.
Hey, I've argued with Bryan before. It is a lot tougher than.
Are you guys going to fight?
It is.
Yeah, the only thing knocked down is your bank account after you got fleeced on that shirt you're wearing.
It was $25. Shout out to 513 shirts.
Oh, never mind. It's a 513 shirt. Good for them.
Yeah,
I'll support them.
And then finally, the Bryan Weigel. Am I allowed to do that, like the whole Ohio State thing?
Well, I love how that people now just say the Weigel versus the Weigels and referring to CST. So I guess that's a step up in my life. But I don't know if you can tell, but my voice is definitely getting back into coaching season. So perpetual sore throat now because I go from training on Monday right into putting the kids to bed and then on here. So got some warm beverage trying to limp through this one. Uh-oh.
You'll make it.
Busted out a little bourbon myself tonight. Normally like a red wine beer drinker on the show.
I had a little too much yesterday if you followed me on Twitter. So we're sticking to the unleaded tonight.
Get a little loose? Did I miss that?
Yeah, I mean, I had some bourbon, some tequila, cerveza.
Well, you mixed it. Never mix it.
Is it like a bank holiday I don't know of that you didn't have to be at work today or what?
No. Plenty ibuprofen shared.
All
right. Well, I don't know. Am I allowed to go to a sponsor read after that? But we do want to give a shout out to Apollo Home, a new season, new deals from Apollo to kick off the 2024 season. They were offering $24 heating tune-up of your HVAC system, $24 whole home plumbing evaluation, or $24 electrical safety evaluation. Give them a call or book online at apollohome.com. Thank you again for sponsoring us in 2024. And of course, if you haven't signed up for Apple Season Pass, we just added a link on our website. You can go check it out, sign up through there. and we've partnered with them to get any FCC fans that really want to watch the team and haven't got to it yet to do that. All right, best and worst. There's a whole lot of stuff to pick from. Bryan, you're up first.
All right, I got to go back to what I was looking at today. Best and worst. Dude, I was so amped when Alvis Powell got his goal versus the Cavalier. Where that was so awesome seeing the guy finally get it across the line. You could see it was a little cathartic for him. So I was just real pumped for the guy. So now we just got to bring Justin Hoyt back from retirement and see if he can get off this schneid too. So my worst, there wasn't a lot bad this week, unfortunately. I guess the thing that was the worst of my week is prayers to the family of Luca Oriano. Sadly lost his father. So bunch of prayers, take all the time in the world to get your mind right. I couldn't imagine that. So prayers to him, whatever's going on with Angulo's family as well. But we're a family here at FC Cincinnati, and I did love seeing the photo with the team prior to kicking Chicago with Luca's jersey. So thoughts and prayers to him.
Yeah, you absolutely hate it when stuff like that happens, and it's too young, way too young for a young player like that to have to go through something as painful as that. So thanks, Bryan, for putting that in there. All right, Mr. Jayer.
Best was seeing what we wanted to see week one, what we wanted to see at other little early spots, which we were told existed in preseason that we didn't get to see, which was that link up with Buca and Lucho. We need to see that. We got to see some glimmers of that in the match against Chicago. I think that can be a pretty formidable little pairing there to kind of disrupt things and get things moving in the midfield. My worst of the week, I was going to say the Soldier Field parking, but I have to change that now to the fact I'm pretty sure my dog just pooped on our steps over here. Like literally just right over here. I'm looking, there's dog poop on that. I was like, right when we started the show, I was like, what is that? What am I smelling? And that's what it is. But also dog poop. The Soldier Field parking situation is a disaster.
History in the making on this show.
I know. First dog to defecate.
Yes, this show is live if you're listening to the podcast.
Hey, your son's 13 now. He can go pick it up.
I'll send him a message on the Alexa to come on down and take care of this.
Jeremy, did you let him get into the peanut butter again?
I don't know what is.
I remember one of the shows you had the dog over there destroying.
Oh yeah, that was an empty Nutella jar.
Oh, Nutella,
that's flinging around the.
People listening to the show on Tuesday morning just spit out their coffee all over the windshield on that one, Justin.
But yeah, the parking at Soldier Field is not good. It took us 35 minutes just to exit the parking lot.
So like historic Columbus Crew Stadium.
Yeah, dude, you stole my joke. I was going there.
Like it's so here's how I love about these parking situations is when you get there, you got the guy pointing you over here, you got the guy taking your money, you got the guy waving you down this aisle, you got the guy waving you into your spot. Guys everywhere directing people. You go to leave, they're all gone. It's just every man for themselves, everybody fending for themselves, cars driving, like cutting each other off, cutting through lanes, backing up into other cars. It was just absolute chaos. Complete gong show.
So just like the, I don't know if you guys pulled out of the stadium on, was it Wednesday night? And that car came through the park and took out one of the cars that was parked on the street. So
I saw that. Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's
well,
brutal.
I'm glad you had fun up there. You get any good pizza or anything?
No, an Italian beef,
Ooh,
which is
strong.
Which is actually, when it comes to going to Chicago, there's a lot of Chicago things. There's the hot dog, there's the pizza. For me, it's the beef. So I had two. I almost had a third once we got to the stadium. So I had one at the Portillo's driving to Chicago.
Okay.
I had one at the cool little like trendy hole in the wall local spot next to my little brother's apartment. And then there was like a stand at the stadium, and I almost went for that third, but I thought, you know what? I don't need to leave in an ambulance. I'm going to not have 3 Italian beefs in one day.
All right. Well, maybe a save call. All right. We've got some good ones flowing in from you all. Jose said the best is the youth team stepped up against Cavalier. Worst, Miazga's still arguing at the refs. So that's Acosta's job. Yeah, I think we're gonna get one of those fines for mass crowding or whatever that's called. That's coming down the pike this week. Best, Chris Albright getting things done by Rupesh. Worst, Queemy's PK. Best turn.
It was not a good PK. That's correct. And he fought everyone off. Like, I'm taking this. This is going to be me. And then if you're going to do that, if you're going to fight off your teammates if you're going to stand there at the spot holding the ball all proud, you got to author a shot a little better than that, buddy.
Clifford turned 50 as we slammed Jamaica. Is that right? Is he old enough to be 50? Anybody believe that? So he went to Red River Gorge.
George,
and,
yes.
And watched us take 3 from Chicago in a hot tub with a beer. I mean, thanks for that image of you in a hot tub, man. Didn't need that in my brain tonight, but we appreciate it. I like David Moore's. Caleb Porter is winless. It'd be better if he was still the coach of the crew, though. Worst, going to have to build a bigger trophy cabinet. Yeah, carpentry is tough, man. I agree with you. All right, Justin, if yours wasn't stolen, go ahead.
Yeah, so my best would be Jason Ashcraft had hosted a CST After Dark for a watch along for the game. That was a blast. Being able, I know Jose came in to the chat. We actually had Danny T Radio on YouTube. If anybody follows, the history of MLS and like some of the people that were first content creators about MLS, like Danny T is a legend. So it was awesome having those folks on and having some other people, pop in for that. And then for worst, I know this is kind of probably like a personal level, but the Rudolph Speed post-game conference at TQL Stadium, it was just Rudolph and me in that room. So it was kind of like, man, the Jamaican, Rudolph really wanted this tournament and to spotlight Cavalier, and unfortunately, they ran into a buzzsaw that is FC Cincinnati, and just never got the bright lights.
They ran into a buzzsaw that was 33-degree weather.
Mm-hmm.
That also did not favor them.
No.
They had those big coats though. I was glad they packed them, or we gave them to them, or something happened there.
Those were the coats that Brenner was supposed to get when he got off that plane in Cincy. That fateful January.
I like it. All right. Well, either way, I mean, I think it was fun for the fans to see what we have in the pipeline, what we can showcase. I mean, obviously, it's going to be a lot harder for the youngins to do that in a proper MLS match, but it does show what we could do, if we need to put 1 or 2 of them in, and how you can expect them to play. And we've already seen a lot of extra playing time from players like Halsey, etc. So overall, pretty good. My best, starting to see a plan take shape this year. I think after week 1, I was a little bit worried, a little bit scared, just a lot of rust. And now I'm starting to see, a pretty stout defense and a team that is patient, minus Acosta. Worst, thinking that the plan might be a little Nashville-ish, where we have this impenetrable defense and the attack's just not there yet. So, what Nashville has, Brian's looking at me all weird, but they had like an amazing goal scorer and nothing else last year. And so right now it's looking like, Boup.
Gary Smith, we are not.
And I'm talking more last year's Nashville than this year's Nashville, but it's a little, I got Nashville-esque vibes.
It's kind of the same Nashville.
Well, now
they did very little in the offseason.
Now they probably have arguably a worse defense. But all right, let's move on to what everybody really wants us to talk about. DeAndre Yedlin. All of a sudden, news broke Sunday of a trade with Miami. And it seemed like almost too good to be true. Only $172,799 in GAM sent to Miami, with Miami paying part of his salary as much as they had to carry him this year and then moving the rest to us. Surprise move. Brian, what did you think when you first saw it?
Yeah. I mean, this is something that I think a lot of us kind of speculated upon over the past couple of weeks, that they were trying to shed salary, and that seemed like a fit for us. Is he the same DeAndre Yedlin from 5-6 years ago? No, but he's a team leader. His experience is great. He's going to know how to defend some of the top end talent that we're going to face. Kind of like what I said, like when we had Arias versus Miami, he knew how to play some of those higher end players a little bit better. Yeah. Is his offensive production falling? I would say so, but being on those Miami teams prior to Messi and then the whole transformation last year with Tata, I think he's still very average on the offensive front, above average on the defensive front, which is kind of funny thinking of DeAndre Yedlin from 10 years ago. But yeah, I'm just excited to add a quality player, and it's a statement signing to me that we do want to go win now. We are going to invest in the tools necessary to do that right now. I mean, it's a 2-year window, right? I'd say probably 2-year window, guys, maybe a little bit longer, but it definitely seems to feel like we are going for that trophy this year, which is awesome.
What do you guys think about Miami fans that are saving face saying, well, Yedlin's the worst player on the team and it's not so bad that we lost him, no big deal, and we didn't get fleeced, yada, yada, yada.
I think like the 100 Miami fans that were pre-Messi, I think it sucks for them. I think they really enjoyed having Yedlin. Yedlin was their DP, their captain. He is, a consummate leader for that team. And I think we all saw he probably was one of their better defenders on the team. And like Bryan said, that was kind of uncharacteristic from the Yedlin that we all know. But yeah, I think that, bringing in Julian Gressel for Inter Miami, they're certainly looking to put him in the right back position, if not fill it with one of the younger players that they can bring in with the cap space.
Yeah, I was a little thrown off by the way that some of these Miami fans reacted to this news. This was an upgrade for Yedlin. He went from a team that didn't make the playoffs, that chooses to instead be a 3-ring circus with a bunch of guys in their late 30s, to the best team in the league last year and a team that is going to contend for every single trophy. This is a great day for Yedlin. Yedlin, this could not go any better for him. So congrats to him on coming to a real club. It's been a while since he's played at one of those. And I'm excited. Listen, and for Yedlin, I'm going to also excuse the way he's played over the past couple of seasons, because he's played on a pretty bad team that's had some pretty bad coaching. So I'm gonna kind of just give him a pass on all that. I'm excited. I think he fits our system really well. I think this is, once again, another masterclass by Chris Albright, basically getting this guy for free. I mean, it just, we talked about it when we were hiring Albright and Noonan, that like, hey, we finally got like MLS guys in that like understand this league. This is a little more than just understanding the league more than some random Dutch guy. This is like having like this thing mastered. He is putting off like a clinic on how to use your GAM, move stuff around, and just completely cheat the system and build a great squad without having to, just fake being roster compliant, which Miami just did, which we all know that's why this move may happen. This move didn't happen because, they just all of a sudden were like, well, we got to just get rid of this Yedlin guy. No, they needed to get rid of that salary. And the reporters and whoever can claim, and MLS put out those statements claiming that they were roster compliant to start the season when they were supposed to be. And this proves that that's a load of crap. And now this was one of those things they had to get done. They were given a, backdoor grace period of like, hey, get this done. You're not ready yet, but you're also the darling of the league. So get this done and get it done soon. And so they did. And we reaped the benefits. I love it. Chef's kiss. I'm going to go clean up some dog poop. You guys talk amongst yourself.
All right. No, I loved it. That was probably you took it a whole different direction, but I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Your point about Albright, he has exceeded expectations, especially when we were already so low with having mismanaged money our first few years in this club. But there's just the little things like figuring out who somebody's going to go for and getting their player rights beforehand, and just squeezing out 50K, 100K here, and then finding these trades. I mean, he was the first person on the phone when he heard that Miami was possibly over the salary cap and said, "Oh man, what bargains, what deals can I get going on here?" I wouldn't be surprised to find out he's in the Carlos Vela hunt, and everybody thinks it's between Galaxy and San Jose over there, and then all of a sudden it's like, boom, Carlos Vela to Cincinnati as our backup striker. No, that's a joke. That's not really happening, but wouldn't be shocked if it did. So, Bryan, do you think there's any money left for the summer window, or did we just burn it all?
I want to go and check out Ken Hedger's roster tracker on CincinnatiSoccerDoc.com. I think there has to be something somewhere. Couple 100K here or there. I don't foresee us going and signing a very impactful player without us moving somebody. I know there's been talk of loaning out Angulo, and maybe that got shelved for a minute while he's on his leave right now. But yeah, I unless some things change, some rules maybe change, maybe bringing a player in the summer when we get half his cap hit, that might be an option. But yeah, I think you have a lot of guys on pretty steep wages, with Miles Robinson being a max contract player. You have Miazga, max contract player. Santos making a fortune, which is kind of hilarious. Now Yedlin making $875,000, whatever it is. So it's going to be tight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we still have a buyout. There's one thing to play with. Carl Linder's never been afraid to pull the buyout button, so that is always I think that's not really an option for most clubs, but it is for FC Cincinnati. And if you are following on the roster tracker, Yedlin comes in with an $825,000 base salary in 2023, probably making just a tad bit more in 2024. We'll figure that out in the summer when that comes out, but we usually can estimate a little bit more. $683,000 is the max budget charge, which means FC Cincinnati has to use that precious GAM we always joke about on this show to make up the difference between $683,000 and $825,000. And then Miami probably has to cover a little bit for his first 3 games, but not a whole lot there. And then you sent $172,799, a randomly specific number, to Miami as well. That might be what it is to pay for the first half of the season, honestly. So overall, a pretty good bit of business, because trading Yedlin in the offseason, I don't think you get him for that. So what does he bring to FC Cincinnati? Is he going to change the game in the defense, or is it all shored up? Or does he add something to the attack, Justin?
I think he brings still that attacking prowess. I think that the finishing touch is to be desired, right? Being able to get accurate cross into the box. I think that's been his struggle as of late. But being able to he's a lot more explosive. Kind of, I hate to draw comparisons to players, but like, just remember Sergio Santos Santi Arias last year, where he was able to flash up the right wing. Yedlin can do that, and Yedlin is a player that is very athletic and able to track back on a lot of those defensive plays. But yeah, it's the crossing that he needs to clean up. He's able to beat defenses, the back lines, but he's not able to deliver an accurate ball in the box to where a striker can bury it.
No, I appreciate that. It's going to be pretty fun. I think the thing I'm most excited about is usually when you make a big trade, you got to wait for that guy to get up to speed. I mean, you got to wait for that player to get match fit or become MLS ready. I mean, how many excuses have we pulled out of the hat over the years of why?
No work visa issues here.
Yeah.
You guys didn't know he's been trialist the whole time?
Yeah.
Jeez.
And he, one thing is like getting him up to speed. Tata has been running a 3-5-2 in the offseason with Miami. So, I mean, that's our system. So, and kind of playing with that false sense with the wing backs playing forward. So I think it's kind of a perfect fit right now. He's already been training this offseason in that kind of system. There'll be some tweaks, but I mean, having a guy like Miles Robinson next to him that he's immensely familiar with, that's good news for us.
Sorry, go ahead, Bray.
I just think that having him come in, it just puts the roles back to allow us, more levers for Noonan to pull to change up a game.
Mhm.
So if you're putting him back on the right, moves Kubo back to the bench or spot starter, allows us to maybe move Buka higher up the field on certain occasions to spell Lucho Acosta more. It just, even think about this. I know it's probably not what we hope for, but say something happens, Miles Robinson's at Copa America and say Nick picks up a knock or whatever, he always can move over and play that right center back spot. Now, is that what we want him to do? Not necessarily, but again,
but we also didn't want Alvis Powell to do that either, and we had to do that a couple times.
So he's versatile enough. He's a professional. I mean, you just hear all the positive vibes coming out of Miami with his character. I don't, I think Justin and Jeremy answered it earlier. I don't necessarily buy the whole he's washed. I mean, people are in Atlanta were telling us Miles Robinson's a shell of himself, and you saw him this weekend. Yeah. So I don't know. I just think he's going to be able to do a lot more up that right side with, an OB Wobro behind him with the best 1v1 defender. So, yeah, I mean, take some risk, DeAndre. Show us your sauce.
Listen, we've all had that moment where we've had to lie to ourselves just to make ourselves feel better. That's what Miami fans are doing right now. They're just lying to themselves. And that's okay. We all do it.
Are we missing the point? Everybody's screaming at us in the chat that depth is the key. The reason we lost MLS Cup last year, depth, and that is what Chris Albright is doing this year by adding these pieces.
Yeah, well, Yedlin's a day one starter, so I don't think any way that Yedlin.
But he creates depth because he's coming in as a starter, right? Because you already have somebody playing that position.
Correct, but you didn't have a starter at that position. That's the difference.
More importantly, this frees up Kubo to play up top.
A lot of people have been saying that because that is important because Kubo is an important piece of his team to fill in gaps. He's played the 6, the 8, the 10. Obviously, now right wing back, left wing back. He is a guy, and he's played forward last season. So it does free up Kubo to be a little bit more versatile for Noonan's first sub off the bench.
Alrighty, fair enough. Real quick, before we jump into our next segment, we want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Beyond Exercise, a local physical therapy and fitness business that helps anyone get active or stay active. In fact, they've helped Nick Hagelin and Brandon Vazquez with their physical therapy and strength training needs during the off seasons. Ask the fellas at Beyond Exercise about the ACL injury prevention screen, which was piloted with Nick and Brandon. Learn more at gobeyondexercise.com. We all know that Brandon was going there right up until the week he left. So great
swing by this
over
week.
there. That's true, dude. I didn't think about that. You got Brandon back in town, might go visit his old friends. He's going to be back at his old favorite coffee shops around town. Brandon is known to frequent a good coffee.
Dude, right. His wife's going to be like, "Hey, dude, you got time with the baby right now." I'm taking
Yes.
Immediately gets put on baby duty. He can't sleep. He's a wreck for the FC Cincinnati game.
Sounds great.
No, they're going to make him be in the team hotel. You think? I would think.
Generally, they try to control that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Superman can do whatever he wants.
He's got unlimited power. Brandon Vazquez, of course, this is totally not what we were planning on talking about, but Brandon Vazquez, of course, scoring again. This weekend. What is that, 5 or 6?
6.
Whew. 6 goals already. I was hoping for maybe like a little bit of learning about Liga MX and maybe not. The guy needing to get his feet under him, but he just came in. It's like last year never stopped.
Did you see how you got kids now showing up to Monterrey matches with Superman capes on?
That was super cool, man.
They've bought in hard to the Superman thing. And even the announcer. He's like, oh, he doesn't even say Brandon Vazquez. He goes, Superman.
I mean, but you love to see it, right? Cincinnati fans are very possessive of our players. We fall in love with them. They're part of our family, right? So it's great to see Brandon Vazquez go to a place like that where he's loved, adored, and he's become a kid icon.
Yeah, it's going to be tough cheering against him. We all secretly love him. We all wish him best, but not in this one game. In this one game, he can 2 games. Sorry, thank you, Bryan. Can hiccup, and that would be fine with us. Sorry, you're stuttering there. You're muted there, Jay.
Oh no, I didn't have anything. I was just saying that no, thumbs down, man. I hope he I hope he has a early night off for him. I don't want any Brandon Vazquez.
We do, we need him getting subbed off so he can get his little applause and the Bailey can sing to him and stuff like that. No goals, but just have your performance. Get subbed off at like the 60th minute.
That's what we need. 3. Yeah, trailing by 3. I'll take that.
Joseph's asking, will you yell sucks when they announce him?
Ooh. I personally will not.
No.
I can't because I don't believe it. And I don't think half the fans there believe it.
I mean, there's a lot of times I don't believe it. I think we said it for Messi, and I didn't believe that. So.
Well, that's just ironically hilarious. And everybody else does that too. Like Messi kicked Orlando's ever-loving crap last week, and they all were the Orlando fans in attendance were yelling sucks, and then he shoved it in their face. That's just what you do. It's what you do. All right. As you may know, FC Cincinnati will not be participating in the U.S. Open Cup this year after MLS announced they will only field the best 8 teams in the 2023 Supporters Shield race that are not participating in the Concacaf Championship Cup. That's right. I said the best 8 teams except for those in the CCC, which is us, because best and us go together, but they don't in this case. This is the first time in FCC's history they will not be participating in the tournament in any form or fashion, excluding the COVID-19 pause. The MLS decision to scale back first-team participation has been met with criticism and finger-pointing all across the American soccer landscape. Who is really to blame? What are the solutions? We're going to quickly dive in that tonight. I think, is this Jeff Tebbets here? Let me bring this guy in.
I think he's just watching.
No, that is not Jeff Tebbets. That looks like John Hunt. Is that John Hunt?
I have no idea who that is. Who is this?
John is the president and capo for the USL League One Lexington SC supporter group, Railbirds. He also writes and podcasts for Bluegrass Soccer Cast. I think we are also joined by
DJ
Schweitzer.
Great.
Contributed in the past to CST and hosts Wrong Side of the Pond with
DJ our just walked in on me in bed with another podcast.
Bryan, did you think I was going to walk into a street fight without any friends? Come on now.
Whatever you want, buddy.
But no, seriously, we just wanted to get everybody together to talk U.S. Open Cup. I think a lot of us have different opinions and different variations of what's going on here. We do have some rapid fire questions for all of our guests, though. First of all, I guess, why is this tournament still important or not in your mind? We'll start with you, DJ, since you're fresh face in here.
Ooh, right onto the hot seat.
Just glad it's not me.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen.
In a way,
we'll let you.
I know this, right? Right in the middle.
Right. No, I think I always come at things from a historical angle. I think the Open Cup obviously is the longest running soccer competition in the United States, one of the longest running soccer competitions in the world. And I think history does play a big part in its importance to not only the current landscape, but the landscape that we've built off of. And you look back at the history of the Open Cup, obviously MLS has dominated it since it's come into existence. But at the same time, it's been one of these competitions that's knit the entire American soccer community together. And the importance of it historically in that regard has been what the MLS structure has basically been built upon, right? Like some of the great American soccer cities are rooted in U.S. Open Cup history, right? New York City, like while they've really struggled on the MLS front, has had like dozens of champions. A lot of them have been based around like community teams. A lot of them have been people you would have never heard of. Some of those have been like historically some of the best soccer sides who have ever played in the United States. And a lot of that history has been lost because it's wrapped up in a lot of workers' rights stuffs and companies that no longer exist and a lot of other things along those lines. But that alone to me makes it an important competition. And MLS is a part of that legacy. And when they remove themselves from that equation, it feels like they're saying to the rest of American soccer, we don't need to be a part of that history any longer. And that's something that I really struggle with.
So I'll give you a question I'm wrestling with. This is complete. We're putting Justin's script to the side and going off ad-libbing here. But
We have a script.
something I've struggled with is, do we just love the idea of the Open Cup because of what it is, or do we really love the Open Cup? I ask because MLS fans, I'm talking supporter groups included, have had just poor attendance, especially for those lower matches. Even in USL, go back to when FCC was a USL team, we would play whatever that League One or League Two version of that team is, and we still had bad attendance as a USL team. Not until we were playing MLS teams did we care. So I guess that's that's the thing I'm struggling with is, do we love the Open Cup or do we love the idea of the Open Cup?
Well, I'll jump in real quickly. I will say I'm probably the exception to the rule because I will find first round matches on YouTube. I completely, like, I was absorbed by Motown last year. So it's like it's a great tournament. I will watch soccer no matter where it is. I'm kind of in that craze, but I will say that, yeah, I think that some teams have been burned out. I think a lot of that has to do with the repetitive grouping that they had, the regional grouping where you had teams that were playing each other over and over and over. So every year the nostalgia just kind of wore off, right? There wasn't anything exciting about, Cincinnati going and playing Pittsburgh, or Cincinnati playing Detroit or Louisville. Like that was the only options that we had in the first, third round of the tournament. So for me, I love the tournament as it is. So it's not about the idea of the tournament or the magic or the upsets for me. It's just I love watching soccer around this country and the communities and the pockets that exist.
And I think to both Justin's point, and I think how I answer your question is there's two sects of soccer fans. There is the sickos, like I consider myself, that will watch all types of soccer and will go out and support whoever their team is. And then there's the casual soccer fan who we saw in Nashville for their Concacaf Champions Cup, that no one came out to that game. Even Cincinnati, they still came out 15,000 strong, but that's about 10,000 less than, typical matches. It's getting that casual fan to appreciate the tournament. We don't have the culture that like England or Germany has, where you just, my team's playing, go out support. Doesn't matter what the competition is, go out support. So it's really hard, I think, for American fans to understand there's like 4 competitions happening at one time, where one is a little more important than the other, because this one's being played on a Tuesday night versus a Saturday night.
Yeah, we're going to see, like, even with CONCACAF, FC Cincinnati's playing in CONCACAF right now, but we have to all start to buy these midweek games. So we're about to figure out how important that is in the early rounds, I think, and whether that'll be U.S. Open Cup-ish, or if, we'll put the Brandon Vazquez one to the side. That one might be special in its own way, but no. When we played this Cavalier team from Jamaica, if I was on the side of Open Cup attendance is what it is because it's midweek, then that's what I would point to, is how many people would show up to watch FC Cincinnati kick the crap out of Cavalier 4-0 to make it a 6-0 all game. All right, Bryan, we haven't let you talk yet. What's your opinion on this whole Open Cup?
I think it is a tournament that is lacking a mission. Just because it is the longest tournament doesn't mean it's a significant piece of our landscape anymore. I might be struggling on the wording there. I think overall, it's in the best interest to have a good tournament like this. But I do think that I think John and I have actually had this dialogue on social media before. Is I think we need to find out a targeted growth strategy for the tournament. That's not just MLS there. It's not necessarily the TV package. We've seen the TV packages is the people who bought the TV packet or the TV rights sold off the TV rights mid-tournament last year because it profited them more money. So I would like to see it be more of a charitable function, whether that's getting more youth, regardless of what city you're in. The barriers for entry for this tournament should be nothing. It shouldn't cost teams. And I think that, to me, is a way to also get maybe MLS teams to buy back in, having a global, or not global, but an actual targeted ambition for this tournament. I think it's not save the cup, it's enhance the cup.
Is there a way, Brian, for MLS teams to ever make money in the U.S. Open Cup? Or is it just going to be...
You'd have to ask them that.
I mean, I think that's
I don't think this tournament, as I've said on social media, I don't think it's not about teams making money. Maybe they don't lose money.
It shouldn't be.
Right? It is.
But that's the reason why you have MLS teams balking at entry, because it's costing them money and the bottom line return isn't there. And that's kind of what they're worried about. When
you can sell a whole new tournament to Apple and control the rights, I think that Leagues Cup is just more profitable, hands down. Plus, you get all the Liga MX fans to buy in one way or another. And then you have extra ticket sales on that side of things as well. So, I mean, Leagues Cup definitely, in my opinion, has the profit margins over U.S. Open Cup.
For sure.
But overall, sorry, go ahead, DJ.
No, it's fine. I mean, I think profit motivations are driving a lot of what MLS is talking about. I think the Apple deal is a humongous portion of this. The biggest thing that the Apple deal can always claim is that you can watch all your games for your team if you buy the Apple deal, except for this one other tournament. And then, of course, obviously the Champions Cup too. But MLS looks at that Champions Cup far differently than it does the Open Cup. And to Brian's point, I think there's a lot that could have been done to head this off of the curve, right? Like, if we're looking for someone to blame, MLS holds a lot of the blame here, right? Like, there are a lot of choices. I said this to Brian when we were talking about this on Twitter. There are a lot of choices that were on the table, and MLS chose violence. Like, they're like, forget the rest of the U.S. soccer landscape. Like, we'll harm everyone else at our own, savings. And I think they were content with that. And you can understand the financial motivations there, right? But U.S. soccer is the one who really squandered this opportunity eons ago, right? Like, we all knew as the sickos in the sport that there was something here, right? Like, when we get to the later stages of this tournament, everything that we're talking about, all the weaknesses of the tournament, evaporates to the teams that are still in the tournament, right? Their fans instantly stop talking about how unimportant it is because suddenly there's silverware that's on the line. And if you talk to any of the players, and except for the early stages when they're really trying to, hey, I'm just trying to stay healthy at this stage of the season, when that silverware becomes on the line, they're all 100% in, right? Like that motivation changes for them as well. So it's a lot like, what could U.S. soccer have done to bring that level of excitement down in the tournament? And financial backing and motivation and marketing and all those things that could have made this into the proper thing that this tournament actually should be is what really could have averted a lot of this. Now, like I said to Brian the other night, MLS has the financial might, importance, and fortitude to have done something with that power and influence. And they just chose the option that did the rest of the soccer landscape the most harm. And I think that's the thing that I struggle the most with the decision-making on it. And I think there are a lot of ways that U.S. soccer could have, averted this by working with MLS to make it more palatable to them too.
Yeah, to me, it's 50-50. It's 50% on U.S. soccer for fumbling the bag, whether with the broadcasting, with all that type of stuff. It's also on MLS. Like, I personally have said, I would much rather MLS go to U.S. soccer and be like, hey, we're not really making money off of this. we would like to make money off this. We know the lower league teams make money off of us coming down to them. How about you got 3 years to figure it out? And then that's where you put the threat, or we're fully pulling out, where it's not instant pull out. It's, we have issues. Here's your timeline to figure it out, or we're pulling out. Because that at least gives U.S. Soccer time to try, and MLS can say, we gave them time. We gave them the ability to try and fix our issues, and they didn't. And then we can leave. I would have been much more okay personally with that if MLS approached it. I wouldn't have liked it at all, but approached it in the way of, this is an issue, fix it or we're gone, instead of like, we have issues, we're leaving, sorry.
So now that the damage is done, because it's all out there, we only have 8 MLS teams. There's going to be some protests. There's going to be some kickback on Twitter. But I mean, I'm not going to lie to you guys, and you might think I'm wrong here, but I think it will slowly fizzle down, and this year will be accepted as 8 MLS teams. And once the tournament starts off, there'll be a kick up again and some tifos and some stuff. But overall, I think it's not going to halt the tournament this year or change things. But can it be saved 2025, 2026? Could fans do something now, or is there enough money to be squeezed out of this? I almost think, correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but I almost think American soccer has to be in a better spot, like college basketball. We know that these tournaments sell. You just look at March Madness, which we're about to have coming up here soon. The U.S. Open Cup has failed to capitalize and turn this into March Madness, whether that's MLS or USSF's fault or just soccer not being a mainstream sport in America. I'm not sure what the blame is there, but I do kind of wonder, can we save it? I've always been, I think if you're a Cincinnati fan, most of the people listening to this podcast have a soft spot in their heart because we did this. We went there. Everybody knows the story. Like the Red Bulls coach said, "Oh, wow, look at Cincinnati." And we've all seen the documentary, but can it be saved, I guess?
I think it can. I think that the things in place have already begun. I mean, they just announced 4 major partners for this tournament, including Nike. So, I mean, they're making some progress to it. I think when we get into some of the major tournaments that are coming U.S. Soccer Federation's way, there'll be a lot more funds in the bank for U.S. Soccer Federation to be a little bit more creative on how to sell this, how to market it better, how to maybe increase venues that we can get around the tournament, maybe not play on some high school fields earlier in the tournament, maybe try to get, partnership with a broadcasting company to say, hey, we're going to cover some of your costs of operating before just saying, okay, well, there's nothing that can be done here. I think that the pressure is on now for U.S. Soccer Federation to figure this out, and the money is going to be there. So if they don't come up with something, it's really just going to be in their face.
Yeah, the issue was that MLS released that like press release of like MLS Next Pro teams are representing MLS teams on like registration deadline day. If you're a pro team, that's the day you like send in your form. And so U.S. Soccer had essentially 2.5 months to go figure this whole thing out and then launch the first round to play. Now they have a year to figure stuff out, to get stuff figured out, to move those pieces. It's really you guys have a crunch where the holidays are over that break too, and all this type of stuff was supposed to be some people's downtime. You got to get everything figured out and launch a tournament, which at this time has the most amateur teams it's ever had. So 2025, I think it can be saved now that if U.S. Soccer really goes down into and like tries to figure this out and get like truly makes an effort to make profit, because they only made like 100,000 off the tournament last year, because all that money they're taking from other teams, they're giving it to other teams for travel and all this type of stuff. It's all like public knowledge. They didn't make a lot of it, so they need that broadcast sponsor. It needs to be the Emirates Open Cup or Barclays or whatever. It needs that money in it. Truly, it does.
Yeah, the way it's structured, they almost even need a big MLS team with a huge stadium to be in the finals because they get bigger cuts and bigger cuts of the ticket revenue towards the last.
What do you think
things.
the last year was with Messi in the semifinals? And of course, he got injured, but they sold all that money for those tickets for that final.
Yeah,
I think it's only broken even twice or 3 times in the past 50 years.
Yeah, I know the year Cincinnati went on a run helped, right? Because we filled Nippert Stadium in those beginning payment rounds, where I don't think, if you're playing in a small USL stadium, you're getting nowhere near the value there.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh only maxes out at like 6,000, 5,000. Like, yeah, you have Louisville that has 10,000, but even Lex, if we have a good day, we're supposedly our new stadium 7,500. So like, no one's bringing in a college football stadium level attendance in the lower leagues.
Well, even if they had, access to that large of a stadium to play in, the costs of operating a stadium that large are significant. That's why a lot of these MLS teams don't like these dates at home for them against some of these lower league sides. They'd almost rather travel because the expense of running their own stadiums is more expensive than sending a team out on the road. I think the thing that I always look at as far as what could be done to help save the tournament is you look a little bit at how MLS approached this particular cup, and they gave away their game right at the start when they said they were putting the next pro teams in. They're trying to use the rest of their rosters at their disposal. That seems like such a layup to me, is like, give them it as a development tool, which is exactly what happens in all the actual national cups in Europe that we all love anyway, right? Like, Real Madrid aren't playing their star players in the first round of the King's Cup. They're playing a bunch of their kids. There's really no reason why that bar shouldn't be lowered. So that way it's a tool that MLS teams can then use as a vehicle to improve some of their younger players. And then when they advance on, they get to make the choice. Do we want to stick it out with the kids, or do we want to give it off to the guys and see if they can actually win us some silverware? And I think that choice gives the MLS teams the freedom to approach the tournament the way they want to approach it.
Yeah, and the Open Cup just recently changed the rule to where it's like roster rules are on whatever league you're in. They took away cup ties for some players that got stuck on teams or whatever. So it's literally on MLS. If they want to play next pro players, change the loan up rule or how long a player can be loaned up. Say like for any non-MLS related tournament, the roster can expand or whatever. It doesn't count against the cap. Like, MLS can easily just pass a rule, and I know from looking, people are mad there was no roster rule changes this year. So like, some of the MLS's issues are very much MLS's issues and not necessarily an Open Cup issue.
Well, since we have you on here and you're a USL guy, does this help the USL though? I mean, this year's locked in place, but I mean, looky, USL championship teams get to go in a round earlier. Normally they got to play a tougher field to get through. Is this year that USL can kind of take advantage of the format and maybe squeak something through? I mean, they really only got to get through 8 senior teams and fend off Division III Next Pro.
I definitely think for the championship teams, this is a year, like Blue City, Sacramento, they need to go into this, but the 8 teams in it are not like the bottom of the barrel of the MLS. These are mid-table. You got LAFC in there. You got these like top dog teams.
Seattle is the sexy pick for the West too.
Yeah, you got Seattle. You got all these other teams in there, plus Houston still in it.
So do you think MLS is saying, well, we're gonna rest ourselves, but also make sure we still win it?
That's kind of the vibe I got, because they didn't want the bottom. It feels like they sent the MLS teams they know can probably at least take it to a top USL team and make it at least competitive, but they will still come out on top type deal. I think the biggest fray in this is that DC United is not represented at all. And they somehow, with their 20% ownership, taken Loudoun count in the cup, even though Loudoun was an independent team and played for the first time last year. That's the weirdest thing at this whole tournament. But from the USL side, the USL is in a crucial year with our TV deal and all this type of stuff where they have to do this and take advantage of this. And from all I know, the USL is all in. Like Lexington's coach, we have to, if we are going to even sniff the final, we have to win 7 games. And he's like all in on it. So I think the USL is very much like pushing, like, we need to be all in on the cup. Your league, kind of push that to the side, all in on your cup games.
Mm. Well, I mean, they had a choice, right? I think if you see everything going down like it is, the risk for the USL is that the U.S. Open Cup will be taken less serious than it already is. It already has a appearance problem, I guess, in the sports landscape. Let's put soccer aside. Soccer has an appearance problem, and then the Open Cup's got a even bigger appearance problem in that microcosm. But so there's that argument on one side, right? It's less valuable. If MLS doesn't care, why should anyone care? And then on the other side, USL says, okay, well, we can either go for it or we can just start dropping teams. And it looks like they chose the United Front option, which is pretty cool to see. And honestly, how USL acts might change how MLS deals with it next year, because in a way they're becoming more rivalry-ish.
Yeah. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There was rumors of USLC teams wanting to pull out of the tournament. If MLS wasn't going to participate, there was rumors that MLS was going to get like 40% of all games cut type deal. And there was teams that were like, well, if this federation is just going to bend over to MLS, we're not even going to play then type deal. And because what's weird about PLS is I believe in the D2, it doesn't mention participation in the Open Cup. So they could even pull out.
Yeah, D1 and D2, it doesn't mention it specifically. D3, it does.
Yeah. So it was weird with all that. But they chose the United Front. And I think that's a mix of USL's leadership, knowing like we have to be bought in. We got to be in on this thing. This is our way to the the Concacaf Champions Cup. This is our only way in. And I'm glad they bought in. It's going to be very interesting how this shapes out. And we'll see if they win. It'll be only the third non-MLS team to win the second non-MLS team to win because Kickers won right before MLS. Yeah. That's why I keep forgetting.
The first and has what the USL likes to call it the modern era. So it'd be the first in the modern era of USL.
Well, USL started in 95 and then
yeah. Well, the USL's got variations of when they started. But no, I joke around. That's from our era. I don't even know if you get that joke, but in our era, they kept claiming like they only.
I'm aware with myself as protagonist, they don't like to talk about how like USL only started in 2011, and everyone's like, hold up, it's not just 2011.
You want to get a Charleston Battery fan ready to fight? Just start that conversation.
That's just when the current like ownership people that kind of own USL officially took over as 2011. They rebranded it and they're like, oh yeah, all this like these Charleston Battery, these Riverhounds, these kicker titles, they don't exist now. We all started in 2011. Everything's 2011.
When Nike owned the league.
Yeah.
I
guess I got one more big one for you. Does USS have a responsibility that's above and beyond leagues? Or who votes for what in representative? I guess is there a world in which USF should just say my way or the highway, and you guys have to tough it out?
In an ideal world, they'd love to be able to say that. Unfortunately, you look at how in bed MLS is with U.S. soccer and the setup and the privileges they've been given in all of the voting capacities within the federation. I mean, they have their own majority vote. Like they literally can just outvote everyone else. If they all ganged up and said, let's oppose MLS, MLS can still outvote them in a lot of the competition factors. So I think their U.S. soccer would love to flex and be like, play or we'll cut your sanctioning, but they're not in a position to do that. And as much as the USL would have their hands out and be like, we'll take it, like we all know that they can't and they shouldn't, right? And so MLS, it needs the Open Cup, not so much, but U.S. soccer needs MLS for the Open Cup to be what it could be. And they'll pretty much do what MLS wants them to do in order to keep that tournament rolling. And if MLS decides to pull the plug, I don't think there's really anything that U.S. Soccer can do about it.
Yeah, I would like U.S. Soccer to have a little more of a backbone, but at the same time, like DJ said, the U.S. Soccer needs MLS way more than MLS needs U.S. Soccer. They need the money, they need the Concacaf berths, all this type stuff. They need it. They need MLS. It's good for the game, especially in this, as we have this 5-year window now, that it's looking likely we're going to host the 2027 Women's World Cup. We are going to have a international competition in the United States in some fashion for 5 straight years. And U.S. Soccer needs MLS, top kids, all this type of connection. USL has some connection with some international kids, but like it's way on MLS and U.S. Soccer these next 5 years, more than it's on. As much as I would like USL to be a part of that, or UPSL and these other smaller leagues, it's all on MLS. They got the big cities, they got the broadcast deal. It's on MLS, and U.S. Soccer needs to figure out how to work with MLS before they can just do something that would hurt the game more than it would help the game.
Yeah, I think for someone that's been around as long as DJ and Mr. Lance hiding over there, it's kind of surprising because back when I first listened to you guys, we were looking at a much weaker MLS. We were looking at a national body that everybody was just like, oh no, not another Chivas, and watching one kind of where USL is right now, where you don't exactly know if all the teams are going to make it in the next season, or if you're going to lose 1 or 2 teams when they fold. MLS used to be like that. And at some point, people like to crap all over Don Garber, but at some point they did strengthen. And they have used a lot of the money and a lot of those billionaire owners to solidify things. We're a long way from the days of Hunt buying multiple teams to keep.
You essentially had 3 families owning the entire league.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
You had the Hunts, the Onshoots, and I think the Crafts or someone else. Pretty much had to run all the teams.
And that was with Hunt owning like 8 teams and the other ones owning like 2. Like Omar Hunt literally went, U.S. Soccer is going to survive. The MLS will exist. I will own the whole league if I have to. This league is going to exist.
There's a reason his name's on the trophy, right? Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the landscape has totally changed. Like it's not what it was 20 years ago. It's not what it was 10 years ago. Jeremy and I joke about that all the time. Like even within the span of our podcast being around, like everything has changed. Like there was no pro soccer team in Cincinnati when we first started recording. And now we get to like point and laugh at all the little clubs out there, right? Like we're up on a perch. And sometimes we forget about what it was like. And I think everyone is happy at times to remember what it's like now, way before what it was like back in the day. And I mean, there's a lot of nostalgia that gets wrapped up in things like the Open Cup. And especially for old guys like me, it definitely it is sad when you see something that's played such a big part in my memory of the sport. I mean, I've been to 2 Open Cup finals, and it's been a blast, even though the buildings weren't sold out. So, I don't think that really dented the atmosphere, but it didn't mean that the Chicago Fire or the Columbus Crew made money on those nights hosting those games. They probably didn't, but they both will point to those trophies in their cabinets and be like, that's an important piece of silverware that we've won. And I think most MLS teams, when it comes down to it, would feel that way if they lifted it still.
At the end of the day, what's going to save this tournament is the metrics, right? What are the metrics that are going to save the cup? It's growth of U.S. soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Is this tournament going to actually accomplish that? Or is it going to, it's thriving right now, or I say thriving. I don't believe it's
most
thriving.
certainly not thriving right now.
It has taken root in some of the more niche markets where it's had blowout attendance in St. Louis, blowout attendance in Austin twice this year, like 20,000. FCC back in 17, right?
Yep.
Can we sustain that? Can you get Houston to get off their butt and actually have more than 4,000 fans there? I don't know, man. I want to see the metrics, and I really think having something out there, there needs to be some sort of draw, and I just don't see what that is right now. And to me, I think I've said it 18 times already. Just let's get freaking kids in the door for free. Let's throw it out there. Throw it on to FC Cincinnati and say, hey man, we're gonna have 25,000 people here, kids, free, whatever. Who cares what it is? But they want to see Lucho, or they want to see the next great guys at a low cost of entry. And I just think that's where the future can then take hold. But there needs to be a mission.
Easier said than done, but man alive, you got to stop spacing the games a month apart, especially in the final stages.
Wait, what? Are you talking about the later rounds? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We had 8 games in 23 days last year. This year,
just get it. But to that point, you already play all those. Just get it over with. By the time it hits September, I forget who the heck's in the Open.
Yeah, I think when it hits quarterfinal, like final 8, it should be done within a month.
Dude,
figure out how to get those last 3 sets of games done in like 6 weeks.
I mean, that's what they do at Leagues Cup. They literally take time off and they crank it out, and it's visible and it flows. I mean, I don't think there's a ton of people that are big fans of Leagues Cup, at least yet. But
not until we win.
I mean, it was.
Then it's the coolest thing ever.
It was an enjoyable tournament, but it just you couldn't get any fan engagement at all on social media. Like it seemed like nobody cared. It was a shame that they couldn't see their team for a whole month. And it's like, your team is playing. They're playing Chivas this week. Like, that's a massive game. And it was like,
well,
not interested.
You say
that, but the MLS clubs still average like 75% of their normal attendance, where it's 35%, including all those mega games of 20,000 for US Open Cup.
I mean, the ticket sales are an example of why MLS wanted to hold this tournament here to begin with, right? Like, even if your regulars don't come out, there's a good chance that, away fans all scattered around the U.S. will travel all the way across the country to go watch their team play. And for some of these Mexican sides that don't come over to the U.S. very often, that's what there are the caravans that everyone's so scared of were heading to MLS stadiums to watch their games in the Leagues Cup, right? Like, I think that's kind of why MLS felt so comfortable with the idea of hosting this tournament. They knew that ticket sales wouldn't dip because there was an opportunity for them to backfill the normal supporters, the normal season ticket holders that bypass those type of normal events. And that's something that the Open Cup obviously does not offer, right? Like, that inbuilt audience for every team doesn't exist for every team in the lower leagues. And as much as we wanted to get there, that's something that the Liga MX sides can always promise.
Yeah, Juarez really sold out Dallas last year. All 30 people that were in that game, that stands that game. So different strokes for different folks. I think we should, if Leagues Cup is going to be what they envision it to be, it has to go into Mexico. It can't just be Canada and the United States.
Yeah, I think there's fixing to do on a lot of this stuff, to be honest with you. And most people that watch Leagues Cup agree with you, Justin. Last year, MLS fans, I think there has to be a stake for to get local Liga MX fans into that tournament. It's going to take a little bit of stake. In fact, I think this year, Monterrey, the whole Monterrey Cincinnati thing might actually add a little stake only for those two teams, but that'll be interesting if they can advance far enough into that. All right. Well, I want to get you guys out of here. Thanks for dropping by. Went ahead and made this extra long since you took the time to come in here and surprise us. That was fun. All right. Well, we appreciate DJ stopping by, as well as our friends from Lexington. Man, when's the last time? We've never had a Lexington podcast on here that I know. Or have you ever been? Yeah, March to Match Day. Maybe Jeff has. But appreciate you both stopping by.
Thanks, guys.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, and I think Justin was ushering me along because he wanted to talk a little bit about Chicago in the MLS opener. So a 2-1 win, Boupendza goal. wild penalty with Obi and Miles Robinson scoring his first goal in the orange and blue. Overall thoughts, guys. You were all questioning the rust in week 1. Week 2 plays out a little bit better. Away wins are always nice. And in fact, if you're supposed to win at home and tie on the road, we just did it backwards, but we're exactly where we should be.
Yeah, well, I mean, Chicago didn't bunker in, so that helped, right? Toronto was perfectly content sitting in the box and stealing a point from us. And Chicago,
they knew what they made the trip for.
Exactly. So Chicago played a little bit more of a free-flowing game. A bit fortunate there with the penalty kick, but yeah, Chicago was trying to announce themselves, right? They had that disappointing result week 1 against Philadelphia where they had the points just like last year and it burnt them. So I think that it really helped in our favor that Chicago weren't wanting to bunker and they were trying to chase all 3 points that game.
All right, and unless any thoughts, Mr. Lance from Chicago, worth the trip, I imagine. Who'd you go see? Family?
Yeah. So I met up with my little brother, and then we picked up our nephew and took him to the game. The only jersey he had, Chicago Fire jersey, was a Chicago Fire jersey signed by the entire team. And my sister-in-law was like, should he wear this to the game? And I looked at it, I was like, no, there's nobody actually good on this, so he's fine. I didn't see Schweinsteiger or Slanina on there, so I was like, bunch of scrubs. He's good. So yeah, no, it was a good time. I must say, like, and sitting around all of these Chicago Fire fans, they were absolutely incensed with the fact that in that final 10 minutes of that match, they kind of stopped trying in certain parts. I mean, you saw some players. I think the most blatant was there was a ball kind of flying into midfield, kind of rainbowing into midfield, and I want to say it was Miles Robinson basically got to like camp out and call the ball, and the 2 Fire players near him pretty much just stood there and like, yeah, I'm not even trying for this. You can go. I'm not contesting this. Head the ball. We're done here. And they just, you could see that there was some slumped shoulders and some on to the next one setting in. And the fans saw it, and the fans were super pissed.
Yeah. I mean, it seemed like their big new DP striker was giving it a try, but he just couldn't get any help. They need a Lucho Acosta or something over there.
No, I mean, there was moments where they would make these runs, but they just, the passes weren't there. Possibly they're a team that, later in the season, when you catch them, it's a different story. They're a little more gelled, a little more figured out. But yeah, it was a side that just didn't offer a whole lot. It was, someone's going to make the run. Shaqiri's gonna try to make that run so you can get the through ball to him, and then it doesn't work out, and they're moving on, and the ball's going back the other way.
Yeah, they were caught between 2 minds. They were trying to play the long ball early, and then they tried to settle into that typical with Shaqiri, of course, play right out the edge of the box and kind of build up possession right outside of the box and hold it, and neither of them worked very particularly well. And I think Obina Nwobino had a lot to do with that. I think he was a bit of a disruptor to what Chicago likes to do. And I mean, I think Ian Murphy and Miles Robinson had phenomenal games. I think Ian Murphy was stepping to and putting pressure on it, and he had that freedom because he knew Matt and Robinson were behind him. So I think Chicago just struggled to identify how they wanted to attack Cincinnati.
Listen, we are a very strong defense, probably one of the best in the league. If you're going to try to get a win against us, you got to show up with a little more firepower. And the Chicago just didn't have it.
Pressed out of the gate, though, similar to Toronto. So
Sure.
I feel like it always takes us 5 minutes for some reason when they press out of the gate.
Kind of been a trend.
Yeah. But as long as we can hold our ground for until we fully recover, we tend to be okay. You can't press FC Cincinnati all game; you wear out. So you notice that everybody eventually kind of wilds down and then gets a little bit more under control. Well, since we're super late already in the episode, we're gonna just fly through these last points. MLS refs are still locked out. I saw some of you asking about it. Maybe this was the week that you started to see a little bit of criticism for the referees. I think Seattle had a bit of a touch and go. Was it Seattle? Am I thinking of the right match?
Well, the Philly match did.
Philly. That's what I'm. Yeah, that's correct.
According to everyone I sat around, Chicago fans did.
They got a penalty. That one was refs fine.
The Galaxy
wasn't enough.
The Galaxy versus Miami was also. I think they ended up going back and removing that red card after review.
Well, yeah, some of that stuff happens anyway. It doesn't matter who the refs are, to be honest. But I guess the first one that was just deemed universally bad by even neutral fans that I saw was that Philly game. And so I think you got your first bit of controversy. Week 1 was a little smooth, a little too smooth. Everybody was waiting for the big oh no moment. Week 2.
This is MLS. The oh no moments happen every week. It's just now that it's replacement refs, people care.
Yeah.
And by people, I mean reporters care.
So, depending on which side of the argument you stand on, I think I haven't seen enough to really make make MLS move. They're not panicking yet, and the union is not signing any new deals that I can see. So I think we have at least another week or two of this until someone gets negotiated. And MLS, I think, told the referee union to take their offer or they will make it worse, is what they said last week. So I guess that's where things stand there. Take it or leave it, and it's going to get worse. MLS All-Star Game was announced versus Liga MX All-Stars. I think we did this, 2 years ago? We're going back. That was the year Lucho and Brandon Vazquez were in it for us, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
So now we might see Brandon on the other team.
Fantastic.
We'll have to find some new player to send. Hopefully we have somebody all-star worthy by the time we get to that point in the season.
I think we learned our lesson with playing against top of the EPL table. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess they dropped the ball, but runner-up in the EPL, Arsenal, it's just not a good idea.
Perpetual runners-up.
Just do what everybody wants and go East versus West. I mean, we all want it.
Yes.
We all. If you're gonna
Bryan looks like he wants it.
If you're gonna play a pointless game, East-West it. All-star games are so pointless overall. Just asking for your players to get hurt for no reason. FCC acquires 2025 GAM for an international spot. That was in a trade with Toronto, I believe. And so that money is coming mostly next year. So be on the lookout as Chris Albright is planning ahead. No U.S. Open Cup action, as we mentioned earlier, in 2024 for FC Cincinnati or FC Cincinnati 2. And I think we've done it. I think I've blown through all of those last-minute requests. We are already 19 minutes over. We're going to get into the final thoughts. We will start with Jeremy.
Final thoughts. I mentioned it. I took my little brother and then my nephew, my late brother's son, to the match. And yeah, I mean, that's the thing I love about soccer, and that's the thing I love about sports, is that it can be a vessel for bonding, hanging out, creating memories. So the next time you're at a game and it sucks, just remember, hey, we're creating memories.
All right, we'll do. I think I learned that, though, in a few years here. Justin.
Yeah, my final thought is, I mean, how cool is this? You got CF Monterrey coming into TQL. Big game. I think national attention. I think people, even in Liga MX, are looking forward to this matchup. This could be one of those all-time classics. This could be Cincinnati's announcement, or this could be CF Monterrey just establishing their dominance over the region.
Thanks, man. I totally forgot to put. Coach has a clip for everybody, and we're gonna edit that into the show. So if you want to see that and you're listening live, you'll have to go download the audio version of the show, and I will throw that in somewhere.
You'll
in
have
the
to
middle.
download the audio version to see a clip.
Oh yeah, it'll be an audio clip. You know.
Okay, all right. I'm sure we're all on the same page there.
What if I just make it a video file halfway through an audio file? Everything will break.
Yes.
All right, Bri. Final thoughts, sir.
I think you're on mute, my man.
Yeah.
I click it twice. My freaking mouse doesn't work. Yeah, I just wish that we don't kind of crap the bed on Thursday versus Monterrey. I think we have another chance to make a statement, and yeah, just don't fumble it away. Hope to see Yedlin out there, and this is the game where you need your high paid guys to produce. So yeah,
Does he start?
I'm perfectly okay if we want to ship the weekend in favor of this game.
Do you think he starts?
I think it gives us the better chance to win when you have Kubo you could bring off the bench, because they're going to have, Liga MX teams have 50 guys on their roster, and we have like 26, 27. So you need every tool necessary over those 90 minutes. And I think I'd rather have Kubo coming off the bench for 30 minutes than Yedlin. So, but we'll see. That's a lot to ask a guy.
And Monterrey has got a lot of goal scorers on their team.
Yeah, we'll see if Bertrame gets signed by Portland this week. I think they said it's like the bid's up to 18 million for him now versus 15 million.
Portland?
Did I say Portland? What did I say?
No, you're right.
I took my headphones off.
Yeah, Portland. So they're trying to buy Bertrame, who I think would be a huge piece, or who is a huge piece for that club.
All right. Well, that's news to me. I wasn't paying attention to Portland Timbers news, so thanks, Bryan. And yeah, Thursday's big. There's some people not giving us much of a chance. I mean, this is the number one team in Liga MX right now, number one team in the Concacaf Championship ratings, and the overall ratings. What is that? It goes 5 years back, and they're doing a fantastic job overall as a club. And I mean, buying Brandon Vazquez is a pretty sweet move on their part. So I echo these guys. I want to show up and do a great job. We need to win points here. It's going to be a whole lot harder to do it there. And if they start scoring in our stadium, we're going to be like that Cavalier team trying to come back in TQL Stadium, which did not go well. We don't want to be playing that game. Do not play catch up in the stadium with a mountain next to it.
No, we don't need a bunch of teenagers scoring on us. Does this make Sunday then a possible trap game?
Bryan's saying ship Sunday, and you've seen this. You've seen this in MLS. Seattle does this, I think, every CCC. They just take their MLS games and they set them on fire, at risk of playing in the Concacaf Championship League. And I think that's what Noonan's going to do. You're going to play your starters, and if they're exhausted on Sunday, then you're going to play somebody else.
I mean, it's DC United at home. It's an incredibly winnable match.
Yeah, and there's 18 playoff spots, so nobody's worried.
We'll get it.
That's the great thing about Major League Soccer, though, boys. Like, you can sacrifice some matches in the spring, and you'll be fine coming into the summer. And there's a big playoff field you just got to get into. I mean, you're not going to be winning Supporters Shield by sacrificing games, but you'll be all right. It won't. I don't think it'll hurt SEC's playoff chances to go for a couple of these. And if you beat Monterrey, then you really go for it.
Absolutely.
Now you knocked out the expected Final Four team.
You ready for those messy prices next round?
We get them. If you're a season ticket holder and you opted in, you get them.
You locked in. Yep.
Yeah.
You locked in.
That's awesome.
Hey, you know it's also awesome? We already sold our match tickets for the summer when Messi will not be coming with Inter Miami, but they were still at Messi level prices. So
nice.
Congrats to whoever made that purchase.
That's funny.
Yeah, there are people who do not realize he will not be here, most likely. So it could always surprise us.
Can't fix stupid.
Yeah. If that is a shout out, though, if Messi is coming, we're not Nashville. We are not charging our season ticket holders extra. you get the price at your base price. Now, there are people that didn't opt in. So that means the club has a pool of extra tickets. And yes, they are probably going to charge a whole lot of money for those that they just happen to have sitting there and they think whoever didn't opt in. But a lot has to happen before we get to that stage. We have to beat Monterrey, and Messi has to get past Gary Smith. No gimmies there. No gimmies. Maybe one of those is more gimme than the other. But we will see you guys next week. Appreciate you stopping by this week at Cincinnati Soccer Talk, and appreciate you sticking through a very long episode. Uncharacteristic of us, but we hope you enjoyed it.